Jujutsu Kaisen. Chapter 271 was the final chapter of the series. It provided a satisfying and clear resolution to Yuji Itadori's journey and other major unresolved plot lines in the series. While some are criticizing Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 271 for not touching on some plot lines that required further resolution, it's impossible to cover everything in a standard-length chapter. But the most important plot lines are thankfully touched on, resulting in a relatively satisfactory end to mangaka Gege Akutami's beloved shonen series. Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 271 begins with Nobara Kugisaki confirming that Sota Fukuzawa's girlfriend had no seals or markings on her. She adds that they should leave since they're almost certainly not a cursed spirit and are working remotely. Yuji and Megumi Fushiguro theorize about the enemy's range, while Nobara confirmed that the woman never sees her boyfriend's face go back to normal. After that, Megumi, Yuji, and Nobara discuss the likelihood of what the curse user's range is, saying 100 meters would be a safe bet. Yuji and Nobara each give Megumi ideas for how to handle it, which they're enthusiastic about, but he rejects them both hilariously. Fukuzawa and his girlfriend are seemingly confused and worried by this talk respectively, while Yuji and Nobara criticize Megumi for nitpicking while asserting they're smarter than him. In Jujutsu Kaisen, Chapter 271, we saw that Megumi explained that they will have the couple leave the curse technique's range, striking the moment it's reactivated after. Yuji points out that he and Nobara said this, but Megumi points to a nearby 40-floor condominium. He asserts its height is easily higher than 150 meters, suggesting Fukuzawa and his girlfriend go to the top floor while Kiyotaka Ijichi keeps an eye on the building's buzzer and entrance. In the meantime, the three of them will keep a lookout, with Megumi adding that the plan should work as long as the enemy doesn't have a cursed technique that lets them listen into conversations. As Fukuzawa and his girlfriend reach the top floor, she lets Megumi, Yuji, and Nobara know that the cursed technique has been deactivated. The trio then spotted a masked man on a nearby building thanks to his radiating cursed energy as Fukuzawa's girlfriend said his face turned back again. In this chapter, we saw Nobara spring into action, using her hammer to help climb down the building and land in front of the masked man. Yuji also meets up with her here, but the two are momentarily stopped by the cursed technique activating on them. The masked man ridicules them for falling for it, but is quickly cornered by Megumi and his divine dog. He ridicules Yuji and Nobara briefly for being so unserious before asking Fukuzawa's girlfriend if he knows the man. She says no, but this causes the man to call out and insult her, asserting that he bought her the bag she's using. She then remembers who he is, revealing him as someone who spent 1,000,000 yen on her after meeting her at her hostess job. As the trio discuss the man and his actions, Yuji notices him in the back of a nearby car looking glum. After that, we saw that Yuji approached the car and tried to cheer him up, even hilariously saying it's not like he'd be executed for what he did. He asks Yuji what they'll do with him, owning up to his blame in this situation due to not communicating. This starts a flashback to Yuji and Satoru Gojo's conversation during switch training, where Yuji said he wanted to do switch training with Gojo. Yuji says to Gojo that he seems out of character and asks if he's okay, to which Gojo says he's filled with confidence he's never had before. The flashback ends with Gojo telling Yuji that he's expecting great things from him. In the present, Yuji tells the curse user to take some time to reflect on his actions, then come help them out in the next mission, even saying he expects great things from him. Gojo says that'd be fine, but asserts that the sorcery world has had enough Satoru Gojo and that he likewise wants Yuji to be more forward-thinking. He asserts that he wants Yuji to carry on his dream, but also wants him and the other students to grow further than he ever did if this is where he meets his end. Gojo even goes as far as to say that he wants at least one of them to forget about him and develop a strength completely different than his own. Nobara then asks Yuji what he did with that thing, to which he says he tossed it since it's not dangerous anymore and will work as a talisman perfectly. He then says it's all good while looking at his still missing 2 fingers. Focus then shifts to Mahito and Ryomen Sukuna's meeting in the afterlife, where Mahito asserts that Sukuna was lying to himself and everyone else about living how he truly wants. Mahito asserts that he wanted revenge against those who resented and persecuted him. Sukuna asks what the difference is, saying he lived in the only manner he knew, before asserting he could have had two different paths. As he says this, what appears to be Yorozu and Uraomi appear behind him, while he furthers that even knowing this, he couldn't help but curse people due to fear of his own curse ending him. As Sukuna puts his arm around Uraomi, he says it'd be nice to walk a different path this time. Mahito calls him boring and soft as Sukuna walks away, with Uraomi saying this is obviously the case since he lost. Mahito curses his fate of being left sulking like a child alone, as shots of Yuta Okatsu, Maki Zenin, Panda, Toge Inumaki, Kinji Hakari, Kirara Hoshi, and Nobara, Megumi, and Yuji are seen. The series' final page shows the final Sukuna finger resting at Yuji's high school, where the story began. While there are certainly some areas where Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 271 could have improved, it's fairly satisfactory overall as a conclusion to Akutami's Battle Shonen series. It ends the series on a hopeful note, confirming that Yuji will continue to live his life as a sorcerer and help others in the way Gojo helped him.